Hi, Sarah. How you
Hello,
doing?
Sean.
How are you doing today?
I'm pretty good, thank you.
Excellent. I hope your air is clean.
It is now. That has been a joy. A full month straight of Spare the Air days was a drag, and it is lovely to have clean air again.
Well, good. I think that for all of us, rededicated our efforts appropriately towards making that only part of our life for the next 20 years, right? I think is about our best hope is that that we turn it all around, and you at the City of Berkeley are leading the way, literally.
Oh,
So I want everyone to know this is so exciting. So Sarah's going to show up here. Here she is, and she's going to explain Berkeley, which is the first city in the country to completely ban gas in all uses, and is rapidly moving forward on their policies for electrification of existing buildings, and truly the leadership city. It'd be hard to point to anyone else who's doing more. And so, Sarah, could you bring up your slides and show us and inspire us and teach us about how to emulate your success in Berkeley?
what a lead. Let's give it a try, Sean. Sure.
Thank you, Sarah.
Can you see my screen okay now?
Your sound is perfect, and I see your slides. Things are perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for that sweet introduction. And I actually want to turn it right around and say that I'm really thrilled to be invited back to learn and to share Berkeley's accomplishments and work since last summer, because Berkeley has been able to make incredible headway, and that has been due to a supportive community as well as elected officials. In 2018, Berkeley City Council declared a climate emergency and the goal of becoming a fossil fuel free city as soon as possible. And also it's the support of many of you on this call and other organizations and individuals who volunteer time, experience, and ideas to help inform and inspire our recent and ongoing work. Thank you. You have been absolutely essential to this work, and this work to make sure that Berkeley is powered by the people rather than by fossil fuels. So here's our emissions inventory based on our most recent data from 2018. And those brightly colored wedges, the 59% of greenhouse gas emissions due to transportation, and the 14% from natural gas in the commercial building sector, and 17 in the residential sector, are the wedges that we must shrink to bring our community not just to an 80% reduction from the year 2000 emissions, but to carbon neutrality. And this is what we often think of when in relation to the work we're doing. We are and have been for a good long time working to reduce use, so of cars, of disposable items, improve energy efficiency in buildings. Then of course we're working to promote cleaner electricity. We now have a great partner in our CCA, East Bay Community Energy, and of course also work with PG&E. And the challenge, of course, is that there's a lot of work that goes into electrifying transportation and buildings. But that is what I'm going to focus on here today. And I'm going to open with talking about some things on the transportation side, very specifically our electric mobility roadmap. I spoke about this process, this roadmap creation at this conference last year, and I'm thrilled to share that this equity-focused, comprehensive assessment and roadmap for electric mobility in Berkeley was approved by our City Council on July 21st. So this roadmap looks at the movement of people and alternatives to driving, such as walking, biking, public transit, as well as all types of electric mobility. That includes shared, ride-hailing, privately owned resources, micro-mobility, such as electric bikes and scooters, motorcycles, and cars. And we had several different things spurred this action. A few different council referrals, as well as the extension of a residential curbside EV charging pilot that we have. And it was with recognition that additional efforts are needed to support increased adoption of electric mobility in Berkeley, particularly to ensure equitable access to the benefits of clean transportation. I'm just going to go on to the next slide. to show you, so the roadmap we've created has 4 goals, which are listed here, and identifies 23 strategies and almost 60 actions within each of these to help achieve the vision. It focuses on activities that we can accomplish in the next 5 to 10 years. And the primary goal is in ensuring equity and access to electric mobility, maximizing those electric mobility benefits in underserved communities. Implementation of some of the roadmap actions is already underway. For example, under this goal of demonstrating city leadership, and thanks to the assistance of East Bay Community Energy, EBCE, we recently completed an assessment of the municipal fleet for electrification. We're now working to form an electric mobility implementation working group, and that's going to include community stakeholders, which can help us prioritize, support, track, and track implementation and the other actions of this plan. So with that very brief word about our transportation sector, I'm now going to talk about our buildings and open with what we've done on the new construction side of things. As Sean just referenced as well, last year at this conference, we got to hear from Chris Nasso, one of Councilmember Harrison's staff members, and he shared detail on the development of our natural gas prohibition. It's in effect, meaning that except in limited circumstances, newly constructed buildings applying for land use permits this year must be all electric. First in the nation, very exciting stuff. And because I think that you all are a pretty savvy audience, I'll also just give you the update on those have been following are likely aware that the California Restaurant Association has brought a complaint against this ordinance in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of California. The original hearing on that was delayed due to the pandemic, and it was held on the 14th of July. The court granted the California Restaurant Association leave to amend their complaint. They submitted a new complaint on August 14th, and the city's new motion to dismiss was submitted last Monday. So stay tuned, a new hearing date should follow soon. In addition to our natural gas prohibition, Berkeley also adopted an electric favored reach code. This also became effective January 1st, and it is designed to work in tandem with that natural gas prohibition. It expands requirements for solar PV to all building types and provides details on the increased efficiency and electric readiness requirements for any systems that still utilize natural gas. And in addition to the REACH code, we also adopted a variety of other local amendments to the state building codes to support building electrification and other green and healthy building features. So for an example, an adopted amendment to the mechanical code now requires kitchen range hoods in residential units in Berkeley. And that of course is to improve indoor air quality. Also, we amended a few sections of Cal Green, one of which now, an amendment substantially increases the EV charging requirements for new construction. And this, in this busy slide, kind of lays out some of the building electrification requirements that are now in place for new construction. So what about existing buildings? Well, we've got a variety of exciting things in the works on that front as well. BESO is Berkeley's Building Energy Savings Ordinance. It's been in place since 2015 with a goal of helping our building stock save energy through requiring custom energy assessments and disclosure at time of sale, and annual energy benchmarking and periodic assessments for larger buildings. So over the past year, we've evaluated this program to identify ways to improve our processes and outcomes. We've worked with the Berkeley Energy Commission and now are currently working with City Council to amend the ordinance to address the following. We want to align BESO with the city's emissions reduction and resilience goals. So currently BESO has been focused really on energy efficiency, and we're proposing to further align it with the city's goal of being a fossil fuel-free city, transitioning our buildings off of natural gas and onto clean electricity. And so one of the things we're doing in this is we'll still keep that BASO acronym, but the plan is for the new name to be the Building Emissions Savings Ordinance. And one aspect that we've already put into place on this, thanks to Stop Waste and Bayron, is an electrification ready checklist that can be used in tandem with the energy assessment for a home energy score. This additional checklist rolled out last month. Some of our home energy assessors have already started to use it and the information on it. And we've also got a new online portal for BASO assessments. Training on all of this actually was just provided this morning, and again tomorrow afternoon for our BASO assessors. We're also working to increase upgrades and utilizations of rebates and incentive programs. So far BASO has relied on voluntary uptake of the assessment recommendations, and with additional incentives, we're hoping to further encourage electrification as well as develop energy upgrade requirements that could utilize new rebates, such as an expanded transfer tax rebate to offset the costs. So we've had 2 workshops with technical experts to date, and while there's general consensus about creating some energy upgrade requirements, there's not yet consensus on exactly what should be required. So that aspect is still in the works, but that is part of the plans. Then also we're working to streamline the requirements for small and medium-sized buildings and increase transparency and information sharing in the building sale process.
Sarah, could you expand a tiny bit on the that previous slide about streamline requirements for small and medium-sized buildings? Give an example of what you might be doing there.
Yeah, so on that, we right now, BASO requires that buildings less than 25,000 square feet complete energy assessments every 10 years, and we're intended to phase the medium-sized buildings in on that as well. But what we found is that the reoccurring assessments for those size buildings, those medium-sized ones, are actually very expensive in proportion to the size of the buildings, and they don't necessarily target the buildings that are the most inefficient and have highest emissions. So we're going towards benchmarking and disclosure there. So that's sort of altering a little bit what our definition then is of large buildings and treating them in a slightly different way. Is that too much detail, Sean, or does that do it?
That did it. Thank you.
Okay, sure. Because I was also wanted to share this example because this is related to this additional electrification checklist that I referenced. This is a sample of the customized energy improvements and resources on electrification rebates that's currently being included with a home energy score as part of a BASO assessment. So one of the many nice things that BASO has done is, in addition to serving as a lever to catalyze over 500 buildings to go through home upgrade programs, BASO has also provided detailed information on Berkeley's building stocks. So over 1,000 home energy scores have been generated, and this data has been very useful in our participation in the Building Electrification Initiative. Berkeley's been really fortunate to be one of the first 8 cities supported by the Building Electrification Initiative, BEI. They've helped us conduct a market segment analysis to assess local building stock for overlapping opportunities to convert heating and hot water systems away from fossil fuels, while also providing needed assessments to improve health, quality, resiliency, and affordability. In part of that, they've also conducted supply chain analysis on the space heating and water heating heat pump markets for Berkeley to inform opportunities for education, training, and workforce development. Here's an example. Through BEI participation, we've been able to get technical details on our building stock, including vintage, size, height, numbers of rooms, presence of solar PV, and using our BASO data as well, the likelihood of wall furnaces. So this slide, for example, includes numbers of housing units generated in Berkeley and their and the size of their buildings over time. We've learned that over 89% of Berkeley's single-family homes were built before 1950. So based on vintage, they're more likely to have knob and tube wiring, wall furnaces, lath and plaster, asbestos, poor enveloped insulation and or ceiling, leaky HVAC ducts, and small electric panels. We've also collected ownership and decision-making indicators, as well as creating social vulnerability and environmental risk indicators, like this analysis of displacement risk in Berkeley. For Berkeley, displacement has most negatively affected our Black residents, particularly in the south and west of Berkeley, where the numbers of African-American residents declined by 40% between 2000 and 2017. So this data and this analysis is really focused on the importance of leading our work with equity. We are fortunate to continue receiving assistance from BEI, working to integrate building electrification with housing policy for healthy, affordable housing, as well as creating policies and workplace programs to align with high road job creation. The BEI data analysis has also provided essential input for another ongoing project. And this one I will say continues to change names over time, but at the moment it's called the Berkeley Existing Building Electrification Strategy. In-house, we're calling that BBs. So the Berkeley Existing Building Electrification Strategy's primary goal is to develop a strategy to electrify Berkeley's existing building stock as quickly as possible while equitably distributing the costs and benefits and minimizing lifetime costs to residents. It's working both to estimate the overall magnitude of the task and to develop specific policy recommendations that can be implemented in the next 2 to 3 years with the opportunities here listed here in mind. A main goal of the strategy is to lead with equity by addressing the equity impacts of any proposed recommendations and working to ensure that the proposed policies mitigate any equity impacts and, where possible, improve those outcomes. So some of the draft equity goals for the strategic proposals and more specific ideas, yes, some of them are listed here, and the city is going to be hosting a community workshop soon to get feedback. But because this is a lot is captured in each of these bullets. As an example, some things that have come up around equitable access to health and comfort improvements are things like aggressively addressing indoor and outdoor air quality impacts, providing higher performance equipment, improving access to indoor comfort, including cooling, and then lead and mold abatement through retrofits. On the next slide here, you can see the strategy's draft proposals. They include 3 primary policy levers where the city can influence change. That's point of replacement for gas appliances, point of sale for buildings and homes, and obviously that is where BESO currently is a lever, and the decommissioning of natural gas system. So all proposed policies would need supporting strategies related to funding and financing and education and outreach in order to be successful. We had the first technical advisory committee meeting for this project just last week and had a variety of focus sessions to gain input on 6 areas related to 2 of these levers and their supports. So we took a more in-depth look at accessible funding and financing, multifamily and affordable housing opportunities, looking at refining a point of sale policy, as well as developing a point of replacement and or renovation policy. We get to talk about optimizing grid impacts and then the very real world retrofit challenges. So the next steps in this project are conducting a community workshop here also in the fall, refining the proposed recommendations over the winter, getting more feedback from our technical advisory committee, and then finalizing this report early next year. But that is still not all. We are also very fortunate to be participating right now in an Elab Accelerator. Elab Accelerator is a Rocky Mountain Institute, quote, boot camp for electricity innovation. And Berkeley's team includes our utilities, PG&E, as well as East Bay Community Energy. We also have active involvement from the California Public Utilities Commission, from the California Energy Commission, BEI, and NRDC. And we're working together, and I should say also with support of the Building Decarbonization Coalition. So these entities have done a really focused work on electrification and natural gas decommissioning, meaning this project is looking at evaluating opportunities in the city of Berkeley for a pilot project to prune natural gas infrastructure and electrify those buildings disconnecting from the gas system. The goal of the project is to identify financial and non-financial costs, benefits, and barriers at one or two sites in order to support community buy-in, create transparency around the regulatory and financial barriers, and identify potential funding mechanisms. And two main barriers that have been the real focus of this work is the obligation to serve, the utilities obligation there, and then regulatory financial barriers. And the findings of this work is also going to be included in that Berkeley existing buildings electrification strategy. So please do look for that report coming out early next year. And with that, I believe I am ready to end and say again, thank you. Really, thank you for the assistance that all of you have collectively provided in this process, as well as my own name there. I've included the emails from my colleagues, Billy Romaine, who is the manager of our office, and Katie Van Dyke, our Climate Action Program Manager and CRO. They've both played a huge role in this work and are excellent resources. And I think Katie may also be on the line to help me field any questions that may come
Woo! Go Berkeley!
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you, Sarah. So Arlene Baxter, she's contributed a couple comments, and well, she's thanking you here, but she had a question earlier. She says, Sarah, as chair of the Climate Action Committee for the Bridge Association of Realtors, I really look forward to using the online portal and very much hope that we can have meaningful assessment reports so that can be scheduled easily and quickly. We know that getting the information to prospective homeowners is key, and in a way they will actually pay attention to it. Do you have any thoughts on that statement?
All great points. We are thrilled to now have this online portal. It was my colleague Ammon Reagan who did the training earlier today for the energy assessors, and it was just really lovely to watch him walk through that process with them, to now have this electrification checklist to add to the energy assessment and make that part of the home energy score. That is being incentivized right now with an $100 rebate from BayREN, from Stop Waste, for its use. So we are also going to start just requiring it in Berkeley. But right, obviously we think, getting that information. So one of our proposed changes to BASO assessment also is having that assessment be available not at time of sale, but actually at time of listing, even earlier in the process. And in the case where an assessment is deferred to the purchaser rather than done prior to, in the future soon, time of listing, there would still be some basic information available about what the fuels are for the current systems in the house and what local and state requirements are, and resources for electrification.
Okay. So, and second question here, people totally perked up when you said that you had an electrification checklist that was being taught. And Deborah Little wrote saying, "Hey, Sarah, can you share the electrification checklist? A link, perhaps?"
Let's see. I will follow up with that when we move on to the next. Yeah, that is something that has actually been created by Stop Waste with funding from BayREN. My understanding is it's available to at a minimum all the BayREN counties, which is basically the Bay Area, and it just rolled out last month, so it is very new. We talked with them, boy, I guess that was just on Monday, and had a few questions, and I think they'll be doing a few little edits and tweaks to it. At least a couple of our home assessors have already used it. Reports so far have been good. As I said, there's also, at least in our area, this $100 rebate incentive to get assessors to try it out.
Nice. People follow the money.
Yeah.
And on that topic, Alice Tiffany had a question for you. What have you found to be the most effective way to promote electrification rebates to the community, especially right now while most marketing is digital?
Yeah, it's hard. I guess maybe I could share it again, that it's nice that BayREN has created this really beautiful one-pager with their rebate availability consolidated that way. So I think in our area, we really benefit from BayREN, as well as our utilities, specifically East Bay Community Energy, and the outreach that they're able to do. We promote it at any, I would say, venue that we're able to do, but those are essentially all virtual these days.
Okay. Well, we have about 2 minutes left, right? Or it doesn't look like I've got more questions to convey to you. So my question for you was, just seeing that it was like almost 60% of your greenhouse gas impacts are transportation.
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing so much planning, thoughtful, coordinated planning through the community. What would be like a highlight of like, oh, this is really cool that's happening, this technology or this strategy, something that is stand out as success, since you guys are leading so hard there?
Oh, what a nice question you've sent to me. And I wish I had a perfect answer off the top of my head. I think for me, one of the things that was really wonderful about working on that project was connecting with groups that we haven't always in the past. So we, and in general, to getting community input just through a general survey, we did a lot of one-on-one interviews and small group interviews. So talked to folks at the World Institute on Disabilities, as well as others, and got more detail about the needs for people with disabilities. And so one idea from that is, well, if we do a multi-mobile charging hub, right, that could potentially charge potentially cars, but certainly electric bicycles, we want to make sure it could charge electric wheelchairs as well, right? And let's have it with Wi-Fi too. So, I think we've got lots of amazing ideas and new partnership potentials in the works now. And we as always, need more money and staff time and all of that, but we've got a lot of things to move forward on there.
I appreciate you bringing forward that has been a deliberate theme of the conference, and I think for everyone, it's not an accident. Like, I'm not just focusing on it, everyone's focusing on it now, how to more thoroughly engage in the democratic process of involving everybody and listening and doing better with that. Right? I applaud you for doing such a good job of community outreach.
It is something that we have really tried to improve, and with recognition that it has to go beyond just outreach too, right? Like you have to be able to come back to the community and show that you've listened, and really though work with them to make sure that new projects and programs really serve the needs. So it's challenging, it's time consuming, and it's super exciting, and it's so critical.
Yay, Sarah!
Thank you.